Hyundai's Accent light car has become the victim of the world's obsession with SUVs. It's being replaced as the Korean brand's entry model with this, the Venue. But is the Venue the place for buyers looking for affordable, city-savvy transport? Or should they stick with a conventional urban hatch? To find out, we're pitching the Venue against another Korean, and one of the biggest names in the city car segment, the Kia Rio. Just $100 separates our two specific trim grades, though where the Hyundai Venue Active is a mid-range model, the Kia Rio GT line is a range topper. Their respective positions in their lineups suggest you might expect the GT line to have more features, and indeed the Venue can't match the Rio's bigger wheels, LED fog lights, privacy glass or alloy sports pedals. Yet the Venue offers a slightly bigger infotainment touchscreen at 8 inches, and it's alone here in providing high beam assist, tyre pressure monitoring and drive modes. Otherwise, the two models share features such as AEB, fatigue alert, lane keep assist, LED daytime running lights, rear parking sensors and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Equally, both vehicles miss out on navigation, climate control and blind zone monitoring. However, Venue buyers have the option to get those latter features by spending another $2,000 to upgrade to the Elite variant, where those features aren't available at all on the Rio. As always, keep an eye on offers. At the time of shooting, the Rio GT line was available for $23,490 drive-away, making it more than $1,500 cheaper than the Venue Active with on-roads included. Hyundai is also offering 2 years extra on warranty until the end of 2019, matching Kia's standard 7-year peace of mind. Servicing costs aren't a million miles apart, with the Venue a bit cheaper to maintain over 3 or 5 years. The Venue is no crossover-style high-riding hatch. With a tall body to match its tall ride height, this Hyundai has a bona fide SUV design. It's more than 14 centimetres taller than the Rio, including its roof rails, and 4.5 centimetres wider, though it's 30mm shorter, even closer to the 4-metre long mark. The Venue does look a bit weird, mind, and those 15-inch wheels look way too small. The Rio GT line surely wins the street cred battle with its stylish 17-inch alloy wheels, sporty body kit that includes a rear roof spoiler, and those dual exhaust pipes. Looks good in this vibrant yellow too. As an entry-level model, it's probably no surprise that the Venue's cabin is dominated by hard plastics. But look, there's a bit of beauty in the simplicity of its layout, and it all feels very solidly constructed, and it's dominated by a very slick-looking 8-inch touchscreen, good quality graphics. For storage, we've got door pockets that aren't particularly large, but will take drinks bottles no problem. A couple of cup holders, a small console bin, a little storage shelf on the passenger side, and a tray below the centre stack here for smartphones with a 12-volt socket and a USB port. One surprising omission though, for the window switches, there isn't an automatic one-touch operation, not even for the driver. That's pretty mean-fisted. Hyundai's done quite a good job with the packaging of what is a very short SUV, because rear legroom, as you can see, is reasonably generous, and headroom, well, that's excellent, which is no surprise for such a tall-bodied car. Toe space, well, there's an abundance of that. The bench itself, very comfortable, very much like the front seats. Excellent under-thigh support, quite a natural seating position. In the way of storage, there's just a couple of storage nets. There's door bins that are really just bottle holders. Don't get any armrest, and there are no rear vents or USB port. It's another case of hard, uninspiring plastics inside the Rio, but there are some nicer details. You've got these gloss black vent surrounds, this fake carbon fibre chunk on the dash, which at least looks visually interesting. The touchscreen is only 7 inches in the Rio, but it kind of suits the size of this car. The heating and ventilation controls looks like a PlayStation controller, kind of like that. Sporty leather GT line steering wheel, looks very smart. For storage, we've got quite large bottle holders and for the door bins, a couple of cup holders, small console bin, and a double tray here for smartphones. And that comes with a 12-volt socket, auxiliary, USB. And how about this for a blast from the past? A cigarette lighter. And as there's also an ashtray, I guess Kia thinks that Rio GT line buyers like a bit of a smoke. And something that the Rio gets that the Venue doesn't, and that's an auto up-down driver's window switch. The Rio's wheelbase is 6 centimetres longer than the Venue, so it's even more capable of sitting a 6-footer behind a 6-footer, which is not me for the record. Well, headroom and toe space, that's not as generous as in the Hyundai, and storage isn't much better. Bottle pockets, no armrest, seat back pocket there, but you do get a USB down here for charging your devices on those longer journeys. The Rio has a 325 litre boot, which is a good size for its class, but you get another 30 litres in the Venue's boot. And it's more practical in a couple of other ways. You get a double floor in the Hyundai, so you can have it at this lower setting here for full depth, or you take the floor out, slide it in like so, and you have a more level loading height. And the other bonus with that, if you fold down the seat backs, 60/40 in both cars, you get a properly flat cargo bay in the Venue where it's stepped in the Rio. The Venue definitely does the SUV thing with its high seating position. You've got a more elevated view of the road than your average passenger car. And that combines with relatively tall glass, which reminds me of a Subaru Forester. So you've got excellent all-round vision. It's particularly good over the shoulder. So the fact that this active model doesn't come with blind spot monitoring isn't so much of an issue. Something else that's also kind of been borrowed from Subaru is the vehicle ahead moving away alert. So that's really good. So say if we come to a stop in traffic lights behind a car like this, and just say we get a little bit distracted somehow, of course we won't be looking at our phones, get a little alert, tells you it's moving off, so that just helps you avoid getting a beep from the car behind, which we all hate. The suspension of the Venue, it's quite nicely calibrated, there's a bit of suppleness to it, touch of fidget now and again, particularly at higher speeds, but generally there's quite a comfortable ride. All Venues come with a 1.6 litre engine, and it is lacking herbs. Just 151 Newton meters, produced at an unhelpfully high 4,850 RPM. That is really high. So when you spot those gaps in the traffic and you want to go for them, your only choice is to stick the boot in. Well, it does kind of get up and go, but engine sounds a bit thrashy, so it's not ideal. The engine is also a touch boomy at freeway speeds, where at 110 kilometers an hour, it's doing a fairly busy 2,650 RPM.
A sport mode improves the Venue's throttle response slightly, but then the Auto can have a tendency to hang on to gears a bit too long. A traction button dial can vary engine braking and stability traction control assistance, depending on whether normal, snow, mud, sand is selected. Though the Venue is strictly a front-wheel drive vehicle, just like your average city car, so we wouldn't recommend getting too adventurous beyond a dirt track.
The Rio brings a more car-like driving position, of course. And while the view out isn't as expansive as the Venues, it's hardly restrictive. Now we've got the letters GT in the badge name, but if you're expecting the GT line to be one of the fun cars to drive in this segment, I'd probably look elsewhere. There's the likes of the Mazda 2 and the Suzuki Swift, which are much more fun to drive. And if you want more refinement from your city car, then take a look at the Volkswagen Polo. The steering is, well, it's a bit heavy at parking speeds and in general. It's kind of okay, but the ride, it's way too firm for a city car. I'm not sure if you could sense this as we're driving along, but there's a lot of little vertical movements. So the suspension is never really relaxing. There's a wooden brake feel as well, so even when you're braking like this, it's really hard to modulate the brakes properly, so that's not effortless. For me, the best asset of the Rio GT line driving experience is the little 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo. There's a little bit of turbo lag down low, but once you've just got past that, there's some nice perky response, a strong mid-range. There's only 172 Newton meters, so it's not a great deal more than what you get in the Venue, but importantly, it's produced from just 1,500 RPM, goes all the way to 4,000. So just give it. So that's decent performance without being especially quick. And there's also a nice thrummy offbeat note that you get from that 3-cylinder.
The Rio GT line's 7-speed dual-clutch auto often leaves you wishing it had a conventional torque converter gearbox instead. It's great at swapping gears when up to speed, but it can be hesitant off the mark, often lacks smoothness around town, and is slow to kick down. Official fuel economy figures reckon the Rio uses nearly 2 litres less petrol every 100 kilometres. It is the only model here with stop-start technology. Our testing suggested a similar gap, just higher figures for both. So, for about the $23,000 mark, should you go city-sized SUV or city-sized hatchback?
Well, we reckon the Kia Rio GT line scores the style points here, while its cabin offers a lot of space for the vehicle's size, and there's a bit of decent punch from that turbo engine. But if you can look past the slightly polarising exterior design of the Hyundai Venue Elite and its average engine performance, well, you've got the softer ride, better all-round vision, more effortless steering and braking, and that more practical boot that just give it the edge in urban motoring.